What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about some of the biggest lies that we are taught here in American schools. Well, this ought to be interesting, I think, because I have to admit, here in the United States, we actually have a lot of trust in our schools and our teachers, you know? So the idea that we're being taught all these things that aren't true is actually really disturbing. So today, I want to check out this video by The Richest and learn about some of the biggest lies that we're being taught in American schools. So let's take a look.
When we were in school, we took what our teachers said at face value. However,
Yeah.
our education system didn't quite tell us the whole story when it comes to academics.
Really?
Christian founding fathers. For many years, people have believed that the founding fathers of the United States were all Christian and that the country was founded on Christian values. That is simply not the case, especially since Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson were considered deists, meaning
What? What? Wait, what? This is. This is. It is, apparently, because if this is true, this is one of the biggest, misconceptions, misinformations, whatever you want to call it, in the United States. Because, I don't know, the US, especially here in the US, is kind of known as being a very heavily religious and Christian country. And a big part of that is, the idea that the founding fathers and the creation of the United States is based in Christianity and those ideals and people who believed in that. And this is the first time I'm ever hearing that that's literally not the case. That's literally not true. That's pretty unbelievable, because that is something that you hear constantly growing up here in the United States all the time, that our country was founded based on this.
they didn't follow the Bible, but knew there was a creator since the world was so well done. Alexander Hamilton became a Christian after his son was killed, which happened long after 1776, and George Washington likely believed that nature was God. And finally, John Adams was a Unitarian, meaning that Jesus was a good person, but not God's son.
Oh, wow. So really, what we're saying here is that the founding fathers of the United States had a lot more diverse set of religious beliefs than I was ever made to believe. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Lies that we are taught here in the United States, that the US was just founded on these perfect, uniform, Christian values, with all the founding fathers believing the exact same perfect set of. No, it was a lot more complicated than that, obviously. Wow. Because this is kind of like a really, really, really big fundamental thing that a lot of Americans believe about the founding fathers and formation of the U.S. And if this, what else is there then, if this is just the first one?
Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison.
For years, we have thought that Thomas Edison was a mastermind who invented the light bulb and harnessed the power of electricity to bring light into our lives.
Yeah.
But to be honest, Edison actually bought the patent for the incandescent light bulb from another inventor named Heinrich Goebel. Plus,
What? Everything is a lie. Nothing is true. If Thomas Edison didn't come up with the light bulb, nothing I know is real anymore. That's insane. Is that true? I don't know what to believe anymore. Yeah, here in the American school, this is such a classic classroom lesson that you're taught about as a kid many times. Thomas Edison, found 1,000 ways to not make a light bulb, which eventually led him to how to correctly make a light bulb, and that's a whole thing. And yeah, what? This is like a big point of pride for America that Thomas Edison made the light bulb. He got the patent? How boring is that? I mean, I'm sure he still did some really good stuff and maybe like improved or the design of the light bulb, but according to this, it was already that a design that existed in a patent that he bought. That is not at all the story that we are told.
Plus, there are about 22 other inventors who were toying with the light bulb invention and working on perfecting it.
What?
The tongue.
The tongue.
For whatever reason, scientists and teachers thought that there were different parts of our tongue that detected different tastes, like sweet, sour, bitter, etc. In reality,
This is too much. This is literally like my childhood. Everything that I was taught, like about history, number one, then like inventions and science with the light bulb, and now biology? You're telling me the tongue that like doesn't have different quadrants where you like taste like sour in the back of the tongue, and right? Doesn't everybody learn about that?
our tongue equally detects these different tastes regardless of what they are. The one exception is that we have a protein that detects whether we are eating something sour.
Hold on. Yeah, this. Bitter in the back, sour, salty in the tip. The quadrants. This is literally, I remember, this is literally a thing we're taught in like biology class. That's made up. That's just straight up made up. You taste with your whole, I mean, when you think about it, you kind of do just taste stuff with your tongue, like the whole tongue, like in general, right? Like if you just, man, maybe that just kind of shows how when you're taught stuff, certainly here in the US, you really just, especially if it's from an authority figure or a teacher, you just kind of, you go with it. You just accept, especially if you're a kid.
Coal and diamonds.
Okay.
For years, science class taught us that diamonds were made from coal that had gone through an immense amount of pressure. But truth be told, diamonds are actually made from vertical shafts full of rocks that are formed by volcanoes. Not to mention that coal is found on the Earth's surface and diamonds are found in the Earth's mantle. And then
Now we're going on to geology. Absolutely, I was taught that coal forms diamonds with pressure and over time. But it's technically a crack full of rocks, or this is like not as mind-blowing because I just don't really care that much about diamonds and rocks, but it's funny that even little details about geology we're told lies about. Like why
that are formed by volcanoes. Not to mention that coal is found on the Earth's surface and diamonds are found in the Earth's mantle, and then brought to the surface by volcanic eruptions, which means that the relationship between diamonds and coal doesn't really make any sense. Blue blood.
Blue blood.
For years, school and old school science told us that our blood was actually blue, and it turned red once it was exposed to oxygen.
Yeah.
The defense behind this theory was the fact that our veins appear to be green and blue underneath our skin.
Yeah.
This mistake was made due to the trick of the eye and how the eye perceives light. The layers of skin plus refracted light created a blue color for our veins, but we were still bleeding red.
I was taught that unoxygenated blood devoid of oxygen. Let's phrase it that way. Unoxygenated blood, or blood with no oxygen, was blue, like the books, like the biology books. That's what we were told. We don't have a bunch of blue in us? Nope. Okay. This is just kind of like getting embarrassing at this point. Like, I feel embarrassed for thinking a lot of these things. Whereas in hindsight, once they're briefly explained, it's like, yeah, it does feel a little silly to think like blood would, like, I don't know, it could have been true, but it's just like blue, and then the second you get cut, it turns red. What part of it, like, where does it, if you cut your arm and there's blood coming out, at what point does it go from red to blue, you know? Like right at the cut, or it doesn't even really make sense.
The human brain. Schools in Hollywood have had us convinced for some time that we only use about 10% of our brains. It was believed that the only one who channeled the majority of their brain was Albert Einstein, and that this was why he was such a genius. But
this one I've heard about. I don't know if we were actually taught this in school. I think at some point a teacher, maybe not a science teacher, said something like this. American teachers say a lot of stuff, and a decent amount of stuff that I now know was wrong looking back, but the whole you only use 10% of your brain thing, I remember people saying that when I was a kid, but I never really believed that.
truth be told, neurologist Barry Gordon has revealed that we actually use all parts of our brain and that most of our brain is active all the time.
Yeah, like, come on. Like, that one, a lot of these I actually believed, but that one, I swear I did not.
Sir Isaac Newton.
Oh.
While it is true that Isaac Newton came up with his theory about gravity while watching apples fall, it is unlikely that the fruit ever actually fell on his head. It actually took over 20 years for Newton to come up with his theory of universal gravitation, and he also had help from others.
Why lie about this? This is so dumb. This is making me a little mad. Because in science class in the US, they tell this story. They do, where they're like, Newton was an apple, fell on his head, and gave him the idea for gravity or something, like, and we all shake it. We're like, yeah, cool. Oh, wow. Like, as little kids. And it's like, we believe it. And they do teach that little tale. If the reality is that it took them like 20 years of hard work, that's not like, maybe that's not as like romantic a story or whatever, but just tell us the truth. Like, what? That's a font. Just tell us what the real biography.
In other words, there was a lot more behind this revolutionary theory besides having an aha moment after an apple fell on his head.
Yeah, give him a little credit. Like, give him his credit. It wasn't some random apple on his head.
Gravity. There is still gravity in outer space, it's just in a weaker form. Gravity is actually responsible for keeping our moon in orbit, and those planets and objects that are defying gravity are actually just in a state of free fall. To learn...
I thought there was... Don't they call it zero gravity? When you're like in space, in a space shuttle? Like zero gravity. I guess technically there's like a very, very, very small amount of gravity going on? Or, I don't know. I don't even feel like this is... I don't know if this is a misconception or... I mean, I guess it is. Because we are definitely taught that there is no gravity in space. But then you got like the planets interacting and... I don't know. This isn't something that I feel like I was totally deceived about. But there's definitely like a misconception or... They didn't do a good job teaching this in school. Let's put it at that.
Well, hopefully that cleared up some things for you. While you're here, here's a couple other videos we think you might...
Wow. Okay. Well, my whole world has been fundamentally changed. I think for the better. Like, it's really sad to think that a lot of Americans like me are just like living our lives in ignorance of these really basic things. A few of these really actually shocked me. And I definitely have a lower trust in the American education system after this, I have to admit. So, but I think it was good to finally like get clarification on these. That's crazy. There really are these random lies that are taught in American schools. And it's not good. Like, it's... I don't know. Obviously, it's not good to lie, but also to just misinform millions of kids for no reason about stuff. Like, anyway, this was eye-opening, but I did enjoy learning about it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like, or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of these crazy random lies that are taught in America. And if you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.